Hey everyone, welcome back to Arbitrary 20. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Player's Handbook Playtest 7 UA. For this video we'll be looking at specifically the Wizard class.
Yeah, so first up, Arcane Recovery returns to level 1. I think it was at level 2 in the last playtest, so not a huge difference there. Spellcasting now allows you to change a cantrip whenever you finish a long rest, pretty much incorporating the cantrip formulas feature from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. That's pretty nice. And then returning to using the Wizard spell list as Arcane, Divine, and Primal are gone. You're back to class spell lists, and the total number of spells prepared has increased since the last playtest to 25 it looks like, which I think was max in 5e, 20 wizard level plus your 5 intelligence. Wizard spellbook is now absorbed into the spellcasting feature. So back to how it was in 5e, Scholar replaces Academic at level 2, and it offers expertise in one skill from a chosen list, which I think it's just the intelligence skills, which is appropriate for a wizard. So small utility buff there. And then Memorize Spell is now a feature rather than a spell. It allows you to prepare a spell that you didn't already have prepared. Before in the last playtest it was a spell that let you swap one of your preparations, but now this is just an additional prepared spell that you can get after a minute. Pretty nuts, honestly. Like, you can use this as many times as you want, so as long as you have a minute, you can access any spell in your spellbook.
I mean, we all, I think, can agree that create spell, modify spell, and
it was just those two that were really, like, overpowered.
Really bad.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that this Memorize Spell is now not a spell and it's now a feature. It's just one more thing to make you better at what you're doing as a wizard.
Yeah, I mean, I think the versatility might be a little too good with this, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, you already could cast ritual spells that you didn't have prepared, and now, with a minute, you can access any spell in your spellbook.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess in that sense it kind of is a bit unnecessary, but the fact that you can do it is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay if it mixed in, but Wizard definitely doesn't need it.
Yeah. I mean, something that I would like to see is if they could try to incorporate,
modify,
create all those, like, integrate them again, because I feel like that's kind of like what makes Wizard a wizard, but
yeah, just
make it so that way it's not like an insane, crazy buff.
I just don't feel like it's necessary if they have their own spell list again, because, like, they needed something like that to push them over the edge when everybody had the same spell list. Otherwise, the sorcerer is just going to be better. But now that they have the best spell list again, that's a pretty big advantage, honestly.
It's tricky to justify this feature but it would be cool to try to see it integrated in without being absolutely crazy and sending Wizard over the top, because Wizard's already been over the top for a long time.
Yeah, it's the best class in the game for sure.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like that's changing, to be honest.
No.
If this is the Wizard we're getting.
They aren't called Wizards of the Coast for nothing.
Well, there was one nerf, but we'll get to it. Modify and create spell are gone, like we just talked about. And then Spell Mastery returns to 18th level. In addition, the chosen spells must have a casting time of an action. You always have them prepared, and you can change them out whenever you finish a long rest. Allowing at-will casting of non-action spells like Shield was too powerful. I mean, fair enough, but I don't know. It's level 18. I feel like you can be too powerful at that point.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically the end of the game almost. You have access to 1 9th level spell slot at this point, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, you only ever get one, but yeah, you got it at 17th level.
Yeah, so you get, I don't know, you've had 7th level spells for 4 levels at this point. I mean, I feel like that's kind of the point of the game where it just starts to get game breaking. You have just crazy things come and happen. So yeah, to basically all that to say, I agree that, you know, it's okay to be a little powerful, because at this point in the game, like, everything's already stupid powerful anyway. So
yeah,
I think there probably should be maybe limits, but I don't know if this is the limit that it needs.
I don't think it makes a huge difference either way, really. But I mean, yeah, Shield, Silver Barbs, Absorb Elements, Misty Step were all really popular picks for that. Now, will have to be something else. There's not a ton of good options, honestly, now.
Yeah.
I mean, Wizard getting nerfed doesn't really feel bad or surprising.
Yeah. I mean, you and I think, both can agree that, you know, nerfing stuff is not our favorite thing. We prefer to add stuff. And the thing I'm thinking right now is that, you know, well, if that was too powerful, then they should have made other things powerful enough to match.
Yeah.
But
like other classes, yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to talk about it more in our survey.
Yeah. And then the signature spells return to level 20, which is the same as it was in 5e. First subclass is the Abjurer, Abjuration Savant, and all of these savants have changed to where you get a spell of that school added to your spellbook whenever you gain access to a new level of spell slots in that class. This benefit replaces the rarely used discount. Which, I mean, yeah, that is a huge buff compared to just a discount. You're getting what that's, because you get this at level 3, so first and second don't really count. So you get 7 additional spells from this feature.
Yeah.
Which, along with Memorize Spell, you'll actually be able to access all those extra spells after a minute.
This is pretty insane.
Yeah.
This is nuts. All for free.
Yeah.
Everything you just get it.
This wizard is just crazy, bro. But while that was a buff, Arcane Ward has been nerfed a little bit. At least one commonly used combo with it has been nerfed. Arcane Ward now requires you to spend a spell slot to create it, and it allows you to expend a spell slot without casting a spell to restore it. So importantly here, both when you create it, says with a spell slot, and to maintain it later on, give it more hit points later on. Also says with a spell slot, so this removes the functionality with Armor of Shadows, the Warlock invocation. Since you have to expend a spell slot, casting Mage Armor at will not work anymore. So this is still a good feature, but you're not going to be able to infinitely recharge it like you could before with just 1 feat.
Definitely a strong exploit, but I mean, I liked it. But
yeah,
it's still a good feature.
Still definitely the most durable wizard with this feature.
Yeah, you just have to have a little more investment now instead of just doing it for free.
And then last change is a new level 10 feature, Spellbreaker. You always have Dispel Magic prepared, and you can cast it as a bonus action, and you can add your proficiency bonus to its ability check. So the proficiency bonus to the ability check was the same, but I believe it applied to any spell that had an ability check. But the main uses were Dispel Magic and Counterspell. They changed Counterspell, which we'll get to in another video, but it wouldn't really apply here anymore, so just buffing Dispel Magic now. I think it makes sense. I think it's fine. And then on to the Diviner. Divination Savant gets the same upgrade, and Third Eye is now a bonus action rather than an action, and it allows you to cast the See Invisibility spell instead of having to choose between seeing the invisible or seeing into the ethereal plane. Finally, the incapacitated condition no longer sets this feature off. Effectively the same, now just takes a bonus action instead of an action. And then on to the Evoker, same thing with Evocation Savant, and then Potent Cantrip and Sculpt spells swapped levels. They think so you can get more use out of each of these, so Potent Cantrip, you're gonna want that bonus to your cantrip damage more at lower levels, and then they think there aren't very many spells at lower levels, so Sculpt spells makes more sense at level 6. I would rather see this how it was in the first place, honestly. The additional damage is whatever at the early levels, especially if you're using point buy. And then you're really going to be missing Sculpt spells at level 5 when you first get Fireball and stuff like that. I don't think it should have been swapped.
No.
I think the last Evoker was fantastic. If you just made this change to Evocation Savant, perfect.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Sculpt spell is pretty important, especially at lower levels of play.
The highlight feature of the Evoker.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean,
and there's some good second level spells too, where Sculpt spells would be useful, which is level 3 when you would get it.
Yeah, but I feel like having this in early levels of play, this is a bigger deal than later levels of play. It's still good all the way up into the higher tiers of play, but I mean, when your hit points aren't that high,
you want your allies to be avoiding them a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't enjoy the fun toys that you get at these levels.
And then I believe, I'll double check, I didn't think they had fixed this yet in Playtest 5, but I believe they have now fixed Overchannel. Yeah, so it used to just say you can deal maximum damage with that spell, but it now importantly says you can deal maximum damage with that spell on the turn you cast it. So before, spells like Wall of Fire would just deal 40 damage for their entire duration, which is a little strong, even for a 14th level ability. And then there were some ways to get like even potentially Spirit Guardians with the lore hold background on your wizard, and you could just do a 40 damage aura all around you, which is stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is much better.
Definitely needed, yeah.
Yeah.
This
feature is still good, but fair now.
Yeah.
And then on to one of my favorite wizards, the Illusionist. Illusion Savant, same thing, nice buff, and then Malleable Illusions is now a bonus action rather than an action. Just lets you change the nature of one of your illusion spells that you're using. So potentially can even be used in combat now that it's a bonus action. And then Illusory Self, kind of like Mirror Image, but it uses a reaction to interpose an illusory duplicate between the attacker and you, making an attack automatically miss. Was just once per short or long rest, but now you can use a level 2 spell slot or higher to do it as well.
That seems to be a more recent trend that they're starting to do,
where you use features with
spell slots.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I mean, you're expending your resources.
I mean, I think the shield spell or Silvery Barbs is definitely better, so I don't think I'm doing that with Illusory Self specifically, but it's still a decent feature. Just once per short rest, you can make an attack miss. I don't know if you get to see what the roll is first, because when they make it, the attack just automatically miss. I guess you would probably see the roll, right?
When they make an attack
Because it's when they make an attack roll, not when they hit you.
Yeah.
I guess debatable whether you see the roll or not, but if you do know the roll and you can cancel crits with this, that's really good.
Well, then couldn't you just, I guess by that wording, wouldn't it just say they're going to attack you, I interpose, and it misses? Or do they have to actually make the roll?
That's what I'm saying. It's not really sure whether you're supposed to do it before the roll or you get to see the roll. If you do get to see the roll, this is really good. If you don't get to see it, it's just okay.
Yeah.
And then Illusory Reality has been clarified, noting that it can't deal damage or give any conditions. I don't think that's what people were really using it for anyway. Still has a lot of its near game-breaking situations, but it is the capstone, so I don't know. I really like this feature and just Illusion in general. It's just very creative, and you can do a lot of big brain stuff with it.
Yeah.
You can still make adamantine boxes. That doesn't deal damage or inflict any conditions, but it still takes somebody completely out of the fight.
It does, but they had to clarify it, which is important.
Yeah, no, that was significant. And I mean, you can still essentially generate infinite spell components with this as well.
Yeah, you can still do a lot with it. It's nice that they made that a little bit simpler to know what you can and can't do with it.
And then this feature can still combine with the Warlock invocation that gives you silent image at will. Anything you can fit in a 15 by 15 foot box, you can make real.
I love this.
This is definitely one of the characters I really want to play.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad they didn't change too much, because I've always thought this was a good subclass.
Yeah, a lot of the features are just okay, but then you got to Illusory Reality, and it was a pretty big payoff.
Yeah.
One thing a lot of people are saying is that they're sad or surprised not to see the Necromancer in the 4 choices for the player's handbook.
That's true, I am.
I know that's one a lot of people like.
Yeah, I'm a little sad to see that not here. But
I really like the Illusionist, so I'm okay with it. But
yeah,
I mean, the Evoker and Diviner were for sure going to be in here. But yeah, so yeah, just interesting to see that they went with Abjurer and Illusionist.
But that's not to say that in the future they'll
add
more.
Whatever Xanathar's 2 is, that second book where they release stuff, they could put the Necromancer in there and stuff like that.
Wait, so
there's 4 wizard subclasses missing, because they're doing 4 for each class instead of cleric and wizard having a ton.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a little sad to see that go, but
it should come back eventually. You could just use the 2014 version in the meantime.
Hoping that everything continues to stay backwards compatible.
Yeah. So you just have to move the first feature to level 3, and that's pretty much it, probably. I assume I hope they'll say that all of the Savant features are updated like this. Because if you have to use the old Necromancy Savant, yeah, that's going to feel really bad when all these guys have this.
Yeah, no, hopefully they put that out and say that.
I hope there's a lot of clarifications like that they say with the backwards compatibility.
They're probably going to have a full chapter on backwards compatibility.
I hope so, yeah.
Because they need it, because there's a lot of questions that are not really being answered right now.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like that's it for the Wizard. If you'd like to watch our last video where we talked about the Warlock and this playtest, you can check that out right here. Either way, thank you guys for watching. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next one.